Hello, I'm Gina and welcome back to the Gina's channel. Today I will read chapter 3 and chapter 4. Wait a minute please. Chapter 3, Mr. Wonka and the Indian Prince. Prince Charlie wrote a letter to Mr. Willy Wonka, said Grandpa Joe, and asked him to come all the way out of India as beef and build him a crystal palace entirely out of chocolate. Did Mr. Wonka do it, Grandpa? He did indeed, and what a place it was! He had 100 rooms, and everything was made of either dark or light chocolate. The bricks were chocolate, and the comments holding them together was chocolate, and the windows were chocolate, and all the walls and the ceilings were made of chocolates. So were the carpets and the pictures, and the furniture and the beds. And when he turned on the taps in the bedroom, hot chocolate came pouring out. When he was finished, Mr. Wonka said to Prince Charlie, "I warn you though, it won't last very long, so you better start eating it right away." "Nonsense," shouted the prince. "I'm not going to eat my palace. I'm not even going to level the staircase to lick the walls. I'm going to live in it." But Mr. Wonka was right, of course, because soon after this, there came a very hot day with the boiling sun, and the whole palace began to melt, and then it sank slowly to the ground, and the crazy prince, who was tossing in the living room at the time, woke up to find himself swimming around in this huge brown stinky lake of chocolates. Little Charlie sat very still on the edge of the bath, staring at his grandfather. Charlie's face was bright, and his eyes were stretched so wide you could see the whites all around. Is all this really true?" he asked. "Or are you pulling my leg?" "It's true," cried all of the old people at once. "Of course it's true. Ask anyone you like." "And I will tell you something else that's true," said Grandpa Joe. And now he leaned closer to Charlie and lowered his voice to a soft, secret whisper. "Nobody ever comes out." "Out of where?" asked Charlie. "And nobody ever goes in." "In where?" said Charlie. "Wonka's factory, of course." "I mean, Grandpa, what do you mean?" "I mean workers, Charlie." "Workers?" "All factories," said Grandpa Joe, "have workers steaming in and out of those gates in the mornings and the evenings, except Wonka's. Have you ever seen a single person going into the place or coming out?" Little Charlie looked slowly around at each of the 4 old faces, one after the other, and they all looked back at him. They were friendly, smiling faces, but they were also quite serious. There was no sign of joking or leg pulling on any of them. "Well, have you?" asked Grandpa Joe. I really don't know, Grandpa," Charlie stammered. "Whenever I walk past the factory, the gates seems to be closed." "Exactly," said Grandpa Joe. "But there must be people working there." "Not people, Charlie. Not ordinary people, anyway." "Then who?" cried Charlie. "Aha, that's it. You see," the sound of Mr. Willy Wonka's cleverness. "Charlie dear," Mrs. Perkins called out from where she was standing by the window, "it's time for bed. This is not for tonight." "But Mother, I must hear—" "Tomorrow, my darling." "That's right," said Grandpa Joe. "I will tell you the rest of it tomorrow evening." Chapter 4, The Secret Workers. The next evening, Grandpa Joe went on with his story. "You see, Charlie," he said, "not so very long ago, there used to be 1,000 of people working in Mr. Willy Wonka's factory. Then one day, all of a sudden, Mr. Wonka had to ask every single one of them to leave, to go home, never to come back." "But why?" asked Charlie. "Because of spies." "Spies?" "Yes, all the other chocolate makers, you see, had begun to grow jealous of the wonderful sweets that Mr. Wonka was making, and they started sending spies to steal his secret recipes. The spies took jobs in the Wonka factory, pretending that they were ordinary workers, and while they were there, each one of them found out exactly how the certain special things was made." "And did they go back to their own factories and tell?" asked Charlie. "They must have," answered Grandpa Joe. "Because soon after that, Finkelgruber's factory started making ice cream instead of never math, and even in the hottest sun. Then Mr. Prognosis' factory came out with the chewing gum that never lost its flavors, however much you chewed it. And then Mr. Slugworth's factory began making sugar balloons that you could blow off to a huge size before you popped out with a pin and then froth them all. And so on and so on. And Mr. Willy Wonka tore his beard and shouted, 'This is terrible! I shall be Means there was spice everywhere. I should have to close the factory. But he didn't do that, Charlie said. Oh yes, he did. He told off the workers that he was sorry, but they just have to go home. Then he shut the main gates and fastened them with the string. And suddenly, Wonka's giant chocolate factories became silent and deserted. The chimney stopped smoking, the machine stopped whirring. And then from then on, then the single chocolate or sweet was made. Not a soul went it out, and even Mr. Willy Wonka himself disappeared completely. Months and months went by, Grandpa Joe went on. But still the factory remains closed, and everybody said, poor Mr. Wonka, he was so nice, and he made such marvelous things, but he's finished now, it's all over. Then something astonishing happens. One day early in the morning, these columns of white smoke were seen to be coming out of the tops of the tall chimney of the factory. People in the town stopped and stared. What's going on? They cried. Someone say lit the furnaces. Mr. Wonka must be opening up a gate. They ran to the gates, expecting to see them wide open and Mr. Wonka standing there to welcome his workers back. But no, the great iron gates were still locked and the chains as securely as ever, and Mr. Wonka was nowhere to be seen. But the factory is working, the people shouted. Listen, you can hear the machines. They're whirring again, and you can smell the smell of melting chocolate in the air. Grandma Joe leaned forward to lay the long spony finger on Charlie's knees and said softly, but not Mr. Double Charlie, or the shouters in the window of the factory. The people standing on the street outside could see small dogs, shadows moving about behind the frosted glass windows. Shadows of whom? Said Charlie quickly. That's exactly what everybody else wanted to know. The place is full of workers, people shouted, but nobody's going in. The gates are locked. It's crazy. Nobody ever comes out either. There is no question at all, said Grandpa Joe. That's the factory was running, and it's gone on running ever since for these last 10 years. What's more, the great chocolates and sweets it being turning out become more fantastic and delicious all the time. And of course, now when Mr. Wonka visits the new and the wonderful sweets, neither Mr. Finger Grabber nor Mr. Pot knows, no Mr. Slugworth, nobody else is able to copy it. No spies can go into the factory to find out how it is made. Go, Grandpa, who? Cried Charlie. Who is Mr. Wonka using to do all the work in the factory? Nobody knows, Charlie, but that's a job. Hasn't someone asked Mr. Wonka? Nobody sees it anymore. He never comes out. The only things that come out of the place is chocolates and sweets. They come out through a special trap door in the wall of packs and address, and they are picked up every way by his post office trucks. But Grandpa, what sort of people are they that's working there? My dear boy, said Grandpa Joe, that is one of the great mysteries of the chocolates making world. We know only one thing about them. They're very small. The faint shadows sometimes appear behind the windows, especially late at night when the lights are on. Or those of tiny people not taller than my name. There isn't any such people, Charlie said. Just then, Mr. Bucket, Charlie's father, came into the room. He was home from the paste factory, and he was waving an evening newspapers rather excitedly. Have you heard the news? He cried. He held up the paper so that they could see the huge headline. The headline said, Wonka's factory to be often a less so lucky few. Chapter 5. The Golden Tickets. You mean people are actually going to be allowed to go inside the factory? Says Grandpa Joe. Read what it says quickly. All right, said Mr. Bucket, smoothing out the newspaper. Listen. Mr. Willy Wonka, the confectionery genius, who nobody has seen for the last 10 years, sent out the following notice today. I, Willy Wonka, have decided to allow 5 children, just 5 mind you, and no more, to visit my factory this year. This lucky 5 will be shown around personally by me, and they will be allowed to see all the secrets and the magic of my factory. Then at the end of the tour, as a special present, all of them will be given enough chocolate and sweets to last them for the rest of their lives. So watch out for the golden tickets. 5 golden tickets have been printed on the golden paper. And these 5 golden tickets have been hidden underneath the ordinary wrapping paper of 5 ordinary bars of chocolate. These 5 chocolate bars may be anywhere, in any shop, in any street, in any town, in any country in the world. Open any counter where Wonka sweets are sold. And the 5 monkeys binders of these 5 golden tickets are the only ones who will be allowed to visit my factory and see what it's like now inside. Good luck to you all, and happy hunting, son Willy Wonka. The man study, mutters Grandma Josephine. He's brilliant, cried Grandpa Joe. He's a magician. Just imagine what will happen now. The whole world will be searching for these golden tickets. Everyone will be buying Wonka's chocolate balls in the hope of finding one. And we're so more than ever before. Oh, how exciting it will be to find one. And all the chocolate and sweets that you can see for the rest of your life free, said Grandpa George. Just imagine that. They'll have to deliver them in the truck, says Grandma Georgina. It makes me quite ill to think about it, said Grandma Josephine. Nonsense, cried Grandpa Joe. Wouldn't it be something for Charlie to open a bowl of chocolate and see a golden ticket glistening inside? It certainly is, Grandpa, but there's no hope, Charlie said sadly. I only get 1 ball a year. You never know, darling, said Grandma Georgina. It's your birthday next week. You have as much chance as anybody else. I'm afraid that simply isn't true, said Grandpa George. The kids who are struggling to find the golden tickets are the ones who can afford to buy balls of chocolate every day. Our Charlie gets only 1 a year. That is no hope. 여러분, 요즘 인플루엔자가 유행이죠? 여러분도 몸 건강하고 조심하시고, 저도 지금 콧물이나 그런 게 많이 나와서 마스크를 착용하고 있어요. 항상 건강하시고 좋은 하루 되세요.